December the 6th, 2023. Guys, you're looking at the last update that I can find from WWL down in New Orleans. This is a CBS affiliate, and this one was November 20th. They have really set on that oil spill information. I'm sure you guys have noticed it because some of you from that area had no idea that it had happened. And I'd like to ask, if you're in that area, are you seeing anything coming ashore, getting into the bird sanctuaries and things like that? If you are, let us know, because there's not, again, this was the 20th, which would be 16 days ago. They're saying the oil spill appears to be contained, bigger than first reported. Now, there's a fellow in the video, which we'll place at a point in this video. He's the Senior Policy Director for the Healthy Gulf. His name is Matt Rhoda. He said the estimate could continue to increase. Says the company that owns the MPOG, that's the group of pipelines that come ashore, is working with the Coast Guard and other agencies to clean up the spill. As of Monday, 210 gallons of oily water mixture had been recovered. I said 100 and something, so it's 210 again. This is 16 days ago. NOAA is assisting with overflights and satellite images. This is Doug Helton, NOAA Emergency Operations Coordinator. Said the imagery allows them to see where possible oil leaks are so they can predict where they might go. A big spill is really not based on the volume as much as what the potential impact is, which is kind of false. They are endangered and threatened species in Louisiana waters. Most of the coastal Louisiana is wetlands and marshes, and that's typically considered really sensitive to oil. It is. So far, this is important, that's why I want your help, the Coast Guard has not reported any onshore impacts. But still, guys, shrimp, oysters, any fish life that come through there, bird life that lands in this or dives in, you see them, how they fish. Says even if it doesn't make it ashore, it doesn't mean that this is an accident that we can just ignore. There are a lot of things that live out in the Gulf. Probably one of the biggest concerns that we might have is turtles, the big sea turtles. You see them all along Florida, all along all the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. Says the location of the leak has not been identified, the Coast Guard said Monday. The Coast Guard is expected to provide an update to the media on Tuesday morning. WWL, that's the TV station there, has reached out to the company that owns the pipeline, but they had not responded. And this is the last article from WWL. They don't want to have another BP oil spill scenario where it's on the news in a side camera on every station, that oil leaking underwater. Now, that brings me to the second part of why I want to do this video. In the last video, I think, about this oil spill, I was reading the comments, and someone was really thinking out of the box. And I don't remember who it was, but if you're listening to this, respond below, and I want to thank you for that thought. And it's not verbatim, but they said, it was something like, if we have World War III or something happens where man is basically wiped out, or the ability to do major projects like offshore cleanup or drilling or anything, what's going to happen? Because the wells will eventually bust. Say mankind is taken off the planet, except for the elites in the bunkers, right? No one's drilling. Everything's solar. But what if everybody's wiped out? But what would happen to the offshore infrastructure around the world? It would all start leaking, cracking, busting, and the oceans would be filled with oil. You understand what I'm saying? And he was thinking, or she, can't remember, was thinking way outside the box. That leads me to this statement, and it's my thoughts only, but I think, as we've read in the Bible, and we've talked about it many times, that God promised he would not destroy the surface of the earth or the wildlife and the mankind with a flood again. Next time it would be by fire. And then it's mentioned that fire will burn up all the negative and evil elements on the planet. Now, Is this why? Is it because he knew the technology would be this far advanced to where a flood would only spread the oil and other radioactive areas and dumps and everything else? It would take a cleansing fire to stop the earth from completely being destroyed. It would be a new earth. But that 1,000-year millennium, guys, we don't know exactly what all will be happening during that time. But will it be the healing process after the fires, after the elements are cleaned? And that element is one of the words used in the original languages. And it tends to be mentioned as an evil or negative element. Before our Father was destroying the planet, there's been 2 floods, by the way, and it's mentioned, both are mentioned in the Bible, and I'll do a video about that. If all of you guys that have watched Pastor Arnold Murray up in Gravette, Arkansas, for all those years, we lost him, I think, on Valentine's Day 2014. I'm not sure of that. But I studied with him about 30, 35 years, have all of his books. And back then, instead of CDs, they were selling cassettes. I'm sure a lot of you have a bookshelf full of them. But he talks about the first flood and that nothing survived. Then you had the second flood, of course, with Noah and the animals, which would be another good Genesis-based video to talk about, because who was here first? And why has the earth been destroyed that we know of twice and it's going to happen again? It's not because of the animals. It's because us, people, humans, were put here. Maybe that's why we were put here last. And guys, I know that talking about the first flood throws a lot of people off, but Genesis, read correctly in Hebrew, in the beginning, the earth became void and without form. Then we go, that's basically where the history of the Bible as we know it begins. But there was a flood before that. And that's why you see they're finding these tracks of man and dinosaurs, men that are way older than this group of humanoids that we know now. There's footprints that have been found that are now hardened with tracks of dinosaurs and men that go back to the same date. The earth is millions and millions of years old. We only know about the last few thousand years of it, basically, a very small segment of its existence. And I'm not saying this to throw anyone off, but again, it would be a good time maybe soon to go back into Genesis and read that first part and read it in Hebrew. But again, I think that the reason that it has to be burned this time is because a flood would only spread the elements, whether it's radioactive activity, oil, any type of pollution that's killing who? The first inhabitants. Then, after the 1,000-year millennium, whatever the new world looks like, we know that the animals will be everyone will be friendly. The animals, the people that make it through that judgment. Because if you're in the 1,000-year millennium group, you don't know if you're going to make it yet or not. Why? Because the books of judgment are not open till that's over with. Just food for thought, guys. And thank you again for the comment about what will happen, especially to the offshore oil rigs, when mankind can no longer function in the capacity to take care of that. They barely can do it now. Look, it's leaking everywhere. They don't care as long as they got that petrodollar rolling. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.